Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show we take you through all the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week we take a look at the new Californian law that is very bad news for owners of RVs. A major car parts supplier has gone bankrupt, but are Trump's tariff to blame for this? And imports of vehicles into the United States are down by over 70%. We explain why and a whole lot more in this video today, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamps in the video description to watch the story that you are most interested in. So, without further delay, let's dive in. Recreation vehicles, also better known as RVs, are incredibly popular over in the United States. Approximately 11 million households within the US own one, and they are extremely popular with families to go and explore the vast wilderness of the United States on their vacation. But unfortunately for RV owners, especially those in the state of California, you guys could be hit very hard by a recent law that is coming in over in the Golden State. What has been agreed, what has happened, and how is it going to impact RV owners? I got everything you need to know here in this video here for you guys today. The RV industry is worth around $20 billion. Currently in the United States, and that's expected to grow to nearly $30 billion by 2029. And that's according to a recent report by the Journal of Consumer Affairs. And when it comes to RV ownership, California is very much the king, generating almost $500 million of that amount by itself in 2019. And it's not a surprise really when you think about it. California has the most people in the United States, and it's also got some of its most incredible national parks as well, such as Yosemite. But when it comes to the RV industry, California is very much waging a war against large vehicles. It's little surprise why when you realize some of the latest measures that they are putting in. And in the case of the Advanced Clean Trucks Act, which came into effect this year, that is very much potentially a nail in the coffin, or at least a severe blow to RV owners over in California. It essentially mandates that all manufacturers of medium and heavy vehicles, which are Class 2B to Class 8, increase sales of their zero-emission vehicles, ZEV, as a result. So RV manufacturers are now by law being mandated to increase their production of electric vehicles, something that a lot of them have no interest in doing. Indeed, they have no facilities to do so, so it would be a massive cost to their overall expenditure. The bill in question aims to have around 55% to 75% of the state's RV be zero emissions by 2035. And around 10 other states are currently looking to pass similar laws, these including Colorado, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York, among others. Now, as a result of this law being passed, the RV industry tried to make an exemption to their vehicles. After all, this is a bill that by its very nature and its name is more aimed towards the production of 18-wheelers, trucks for haulage, rather than those just looking for a quick weekend away. There's also been rumours that RVs will eventually be banned in the state of California, although the California Air Resources Board, also known as CARB, has denied this claim. And this all comes as well as gas prices are set to increase in California as well, so making these long road trips that more expensive in a state where a lot of people are really struggling to survive right now because of the cost of living. So as things currently stand, Class A and Class C motorhomes are impacted by this law, as well as Class B camper vans that fall on the larger side. Other RVs that are not impacted by the regulations include detachable types such as travel trailers and fifth wheels. Used RVs that have surpassed 7,500 miles are also exempt from the new law. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below on this. This very much can and probably will impact the RV industry over in California, something that is no doubt going to be very unpopular with a lot of families who already own one. Just by the very metric of how many people in California buy them every year, the cost of them is going to increase, and it's going to put off people being able to afford them. Even people who've already got RVs, eventually they will come to replace them one day. And like I said, a lot of these manufacturers have no intention or the capability to produce electric vehicles, so it really does seem a bit unnecessary, to be honest. But I want to get your guys' thoughts in the comments below. A lot of experts were predicting that one of the side effects of the tariffs placed upon the auto industry was that businesses were going to go bankrupt, whether they are an actual car producer or a supplier of parts. It was inevitable the knock-on effect was going to very, very much negatively impact a lot of businesses around the world, and a car supplier parts giant has filed for bankruptcy off the back of these tariffs. So who is this? And is this the end of it? In terms of these companies going out of business, I'll let you know everything we know so far about this on the channel here, guys. So, Marelli, who are a Japanese car parts manufacturer, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Wednesday, citing tariff-related pressures that added to its years-long financial troubles. The parts maker, which supplies components for Nissan and Stellantis, of course, the parent company of a lot of different companies such as Fiat and Dodge, is considered a bellwether for the global auto industry. It employs around 40,000 workers across plants in the United States, Europe, and Asia. Marelli said that it had been navigating a challenging landscape of supply chain bottlenecks and labour shortages after the global pandemic. But in a court filing, CEO David Slump wrote that rising global tariffs became a tipping point for this spring. They said, and I quote, Marelli was severely affected by tariffs due to its import-export focused business and the imposition of tariffs specifically against automotive manufacturers and suppliers, Slump wrote in the court filing. The company's finances began to deteriorate in March of this year, around the same time as when President Donald Trump imposed 25% levies on imported cars and vehicle parts. Remember, it's not just the cars themselves, it's any parts that go towards cars as well. Even if they are manufactured within the United States, they are still subject to tariffs. And that very much just drives the cost up for everybody. The president scaled back the dramatic import tax in April, but the temporary reprieve left suppliers facing continued uncertainty. And for Marelli, the pressure just got too much. In the filing on Wednesday, the company said it secured around $1.1 billion in financing from lenders, a deal that will allow it to keep factories running and maintain customer orders. Around 80% of Marelli's creditors have agreed to support the plan, which includes eliminating all of its secured debt. This process will allow Marelli to strengthen their business, according to Fernando Vivanco, the company's chief communications officer. He went on to say, this filing has no impact on our business or how we serve our customers. Marelli will continue to fulfill orders as usual, and this process will not result in any changes to our relationship with customers, including contacts, billing, or the other support processes that we have. Still, the bankruptcy highlights how quickly trade policy can shift and destabilize even massive suppliers, and it places new scrutiny on Marelli's biggest clients. Nissan are the 5th most popular car brand in the United States as of last year, and once owned more than 40% of Marelli's shares and remains heavily reliant on the supplier to this day. But the automaker is under enormous financial stresses of its own. In November last year, executives started raising alarm bells, saying that the brand only had 12 to 14 months of cash to survive, according to the Financial Times. And the company said that it was struggling to keep up with increasingly popular Chinese manufacturers. Nissan's cars, which rely on older, less reliable parts, have continued to lose global market share over the years. Stellantis, which also briefly owned Marelli, is also facing its own pressures. The automaking conglomerate, which owns legendary Detroit-based brands Jeep, Dodge and Chrysler, as well as Ram, reported a 70% drop in profits in 2024. And they also recently fired their top boss. So what's going to happen from here? Well, we'll watch this situation very closely as always, guys. But the fact that Nissan and Stellantis are reliant on Marelli and are that invested with them, it could be bad news for both of those car manufacturers, in particular Nissan. Nissan really struggling right now. But yeah, your thoughts are appreciated in the comments as always, guys. It's not going to change anything in the immediate term, but it's not a good sign. Whenever a company has to file for bankruptcy, it is never a good sign. They don't do it because they want to. They do it because they feel like they have no other alternative. But yeah, bad news for drivers in the United States or anybody looking to get a new car anytime soon. There are reports emerging that shipments of vehicles to the United States of America are set to drop by around 70%. Why is this? Well, say it with me, guys. Tariffs. Auto tariffs is one of the biggest talking points when it comes to the Trump administration so far in terms of how they are affecting the industry for cars. Tariffs also apply to other things as well, but we always focus on the cars, of course, here on Motoring USA. But yeah, this is really, really bad news bears, as it were, for consumers of cars, and I will, of course, explain why in this video. But let's just go through the full story here on the channel, because yeah, the aim of auto tariffs was very much to try and get car manufacturing back to the United States, but unfortunately it looks as though the supply of these vehicles is set to decrease, which will usually mean only one thing for the consumer: prices are going to go up. In what is likely a reaction to tariff taxes put in place by the Trump administration, new data is showing that vehicle shipments to the USA have plummeted by around 70%. Automotive News reported this morning that the volume of vehicles being shipped to America via the ocean carriers has dropped by 72% when using the standard industry measure of 20-foot equivalent units, or TEU, basically the space that is taken up by an average vehicle while being shipped. Now, that unit may not be familiar to you, but basically it is the space that an average cargo shipping container takes up. And it's a good way of measuring how many vehicles are coming into the United States. After all, you know how big the average car is, so you can estimate on average how many vehicles are coming in, depending on how much space they are taking up on ship cargo carriers. Under the category of motor vehicles for transporting people, the total TEU quantity for May 2025 was just under 3,600 compared to nearly 13,000 in May 2024. And most experts agree that this is a direct result of the Trump auto tariffs and the uncertainty around the industry as a result of them. So what gives? Why has this happened? Well, I shouldn't have to explain it to you, but basically it's all down to the uncertainty placed on the industry. A lot of manufacturers have paused imports of vehicles into the United States because they don't know what is going on. For example, here in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover paused shipments of their vehicles to the United States until a trade deal between the UK and the USA was actually reached. Now, of course, we could see manufacturers import cars into the United States when trade deals are announced, but these are not guaranteed. Japan right now, one of the biggest auto manufacturers in the world, maybe the biggest actually, certainly home to the biggest in the world, Toyota. They are trying to strike a deal with the US government. They are hoping to make some waves with that this month, but there is no guarantees of that, of course, so companies cannot afford to take the risk. And like I said at the start in the intro, what does this mean for the average consumer? Well, less new cars means that they are more rare, which means the price of them will increase, so you can expect new car prices to skyrocket relatively as a result of this. The companies don't want to lose out on how much these vehicles are costing. They may well take some of the financial hit themselves, but overall, you can guarantee that the customer, of course, will be charged more for the same vehicle compared to previously. And it's not just cars that are made outside of the United States. Remember that these tariffs also impact parts as well. Even if your vehicle is assembled in the United States, if parts are coming in from abroad, they will be tariffed as well. So it's pretty bad news, really. It's something that is only going to enrich the rich and make the poorer poor, relatively speaking, of course, for a relative term there. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below, guys. 72%. Will the number of cars being imported to the United States normalize again, or are those days over? Let us know your thoughts about this in the comments below. So, good news for the American automotive industry. General Motors are pledging to invest $4 billion in its US manufacturing plants, and no doubt a certain tariff on the auto industry, or a series of tariffs I should say, have played a part in this. Obviously, cars that are produced outside of the United States and even parts that are brought into the United States for assembly and manufacturing, those are all charged tariffs, but if you produce domestically, you can avoid it. So let's have a look what GM are doing here. So today, they have announced plans to invest around $4 billion over the next 2 years in its domestic manufacturing plants to increase US production of both gas and electric vehicles. The new investment will give GM the ability to assemble more than 2 million vehicles per year in the United States. And this announcement comes on the heels of the company's recently announced plan to invest over $800 million in the Tonawanda propulsion plant near Buffalo, New York, to support GM's next generation of V8 engines. Plants in Michigan, Kansas, and Tennessee will expand finished vehicle production of several of GM's most popular vehicles. There's a little rundown there on the article going over everything that's going to be produced. I do implore you guys do check out our website as always on the motoringchronicle.com, but I'll just get into the quotes and stuff like that. But yeah, very positive for sure, it seems like anyway. Mary Barra said the following on this investment: "We believe the future of transportation will be driven by American innovation and manufacturing expertise. Today's announcement demonstrates our ongoing commitment to build vehicles in the US and to support American jobs. We are focused on giving customers choice and offering a broad range of the vehicles they love." General Motors has a network of 50 US manufacturing plants and parts facilities in 19 states, including 11 vehicle assembly plants. Nearly 1 million people in the US depend on General Motors for their livelihood, including employees, suppliers, and dealers. And on that as well, GM are continuing to post strong US sales, gaining market share in both the gas and the electric vehicle markets. The company is on track to deliver its 6th consecutive year as the US full-size pickup sales leader and its 51st straight year leading the full-size SUV market. In the second half of 2024, GM became the number 2 seller of electric vehicles in the US market, thanks to its diverse portfolio of 13 electric models from Chevrolet, Cadillac, and GMC. Chevrolet is now the fastest growing EV brand and number 2 among all EV brands in sales in the US. GM's 2025 capital spending guidance is unchanged between $10 billion and $11 billion US dollars. And going forwards as well through 26 and 27, GM is saying that its capital spending will be in the range of between $10 and $12 billion, reflecting increased US investment and the prioritization of key programs and efficiency offsets. So there you go, guys. I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom really around the US at the moment, and particularly with the auto market as well, but that can only be a good thing, surely. This kind of investment is what the tariffs were intended to do. Of course, there are a lot of unintended consequences that will make things very much difficult for a lot of people, and the critics of this will, of course, say that, well, General Motors assembly, their actual production process for their vehicles is not of the highest quality, and this is not going to change things. But that remains to be seen. We'll have to see. Maybe these upgraded facilities will make things better. Who knows? But your thoughts are appreciated, guys, in the comments below, as always. So it's fair to say that Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump are not getting on right now. The governor of California has taken another measure to try and force through this EV mandate that he is trying to bring in the state of California. I'll get into details about that soon. There's quite a bit of backstory when it comes to these two. I think Trump said recently that he would not get in the way of Newsom being arrested, and on top of that as well, Trump also went over Newsom's head to call in the National Guard to the city of Los Angeles to try and calm down the protesters, which Newsom did not want. So the two do not get on, to say the very least. Even by the standards of Democrats and Republicans, I think there's a fair bit of water under this bridge between the two of them. But what's Newsom done now? Well, I'll get into that in this video, guys, and I'll give my thoughts on what is likely to happen off the back of this as well. So immediately after President Donald Trump signed a congressional bill overturning California's 2035 gasoline-powered car ban, Governor Gavin Newsom ordered the state to continue with the phased-in ban, and California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit to stop the ban from being overturned. So effectively, the ban was agreed upon by the government of California, but the central government, the federal government, in turn banned it. Now, in response, California is saying, we're going to do it anyway. We don't care what you think about this. Again, I'll get into it more at the end. Newsom recently said in a statement on this issue, "We won't let this illegal action by Trump and the Republicans in the pockets of polluters stand in the way of common sense policy to clean out the air, protect the health of our kids, and compete on the global stage. I'm signing an executive order to keep California on track with our world-leading transition to cleaner cars." However, Californian Republicans say this standard is unrealistic and that infrastructure and funding do not exist to meet the governor's standards, which is very much something shared by a lot of Californians. I see in my comments, I see in the comments of these actual articles and everything to do with this story, guys. I mean, thank you all for your support, obviously. And yeah, basically the infrastructure just isn't there right now. I mean, even for the amount of electric vehicles they have at the moment, power cuts and blackouts are really common across the state of California. There is just not the support there for it, even at this stage now, let alone if it ramps up to effectively being pretty much all electric vehicles in 10 years' time. And indeed, the state Senate's Transportation Committee Vice Chair Tony Strickland of the Republican Party said, California faces many challenges in reaching other unrealistic goals set by the governor. These include not enough energy capacity, poor infrastructure, and too few public and electrical charging stations. Currently, we need at least 2.1 million public charging stations to meet earlier mandates, and California currently has less than 200,000. So do the maths, there's not enough there, not even close. Now, California is not the only state to have these kinds of measures. There are other states that have wanted to implement something similar to this or something a bit more scaled back. 17 of those in total. And what California does when it comes to these bans is really, really crucial. I mean, this is all to do originally with the Advanced Clean Cars 2 Act for passenger vehicle regulations. Now, if this was adopted and did go through in the District of Columbia in Washington and also California, and this act has been adopted by 12 states, including California and DC. And these 12 states make up around 40% of all auto sales in the United States. So at that point, you're talking about half of the country in terms of car sales all having to be electric vehicles. So what these states do matters for every state. Every single company, every single car maker would have to only make EVs, because if they don't, they're effectively cutting off 40% of the market. They'd never do it. It'd make no sense for business at that point. And a lot of people are definitely online are definitely not happy with this in terms of the acts of the governor. It's very much a war, and it's going to end up in the courts really at this point. There's going to be lawsuits and countersuits and everything like that. But a lot of people are pointing out the irony of course, the Democrat Party, of course, Gavin Newsom is one of, actually going and superseding a Democratic vote that was taking place in the Senate, in the central government in Washington. So, yeah. Definitely a divisive issue, but overall, a lot of people are thinking that California shouldn't be successful with this, and they won't be successful with this. But this will very much rumble on. There, like I said, will be lawsuits and countersuits, and we'll bring you any kind of updates here on the channel, guys. Interesting story regarding Tesla. It's rarely not an interesting story when it comes to Tesla, of course, because some owners of Teslas over in Europe are actually suing Elon Musk's company for damaging their reputation. Let me explain all, guys, on this, because it's an interesting one for sure. It's one where you think it sounds a bit crazy. It's like, oh, that has no chance of getting anywhere. But when you read into it, actually, I think there are some grounds to sue here. I will be honest, I'm no legal expert by any means, but I understand why they're at least trying. So a group of Tesla owners over in France is currently suing Elon Musk car company, alleging that its vehicles have become so-called far-right totems and that they are harming their reputation, according to the law firm representing the group. The group is seeking to terminate their lease contracts with Tesla and recover legal costs at the Paris Commercial Court, citing direct and concrete harm caused by Musk's public behaviour after he rallied in support of Donald Trump's presidential bid and Germany's far-right AfD party, and a bunch of other controversial figures in the UK, among many others, of course, too. The lawsuit comes amid plummeting Tesla sales in key European markets, including France, the UK, Germany and Italy, partly in protest of Musk's political activities and as customers favour Chinese electric vehicles due to their competitive prices. By competitive, it means blowing Tesla out of the water and blowing a lot of manufacturers of EVs out of the water, really, when it comes to European sales. Tesla vehicles have become powerful political symbols and are now perceived as true far-right totems, much to the dismay of those who already purchased them solely as innovative and eco-friendly vehicles, the plaintiff's lawyer Patrick Klugman and Ivan Terrell at law firm GKA said. Tesla Europe unsurprisingly did not respond to an email request for comment when it comes to this case. According to the law firm, around 10 Tesla leaseholders have joined the lawsuit so far. And it's not just his support for controversial figures in politics, it's also his involvement in politics itself, as we've covered here many times on the channel before. Of course, the businesses of Elon Musk, not just Tesla, it's also affected Musk's other businesses, of course, as well, such as X and SpaceX as well. They are now viewed generally by the public as some of the worst companies of that scale in the United States. And that reputation very much has spread to the rest of the world too, lest we forget about the salutes that he did on the presidential podium. It's not been a good year for Elon Musk at all when it comes to his reputation. And even though he's now left government as well, his involvement in the Department of Government Efficiency has been very controversial in a lot of parts of the world. His recent rant on X against Donald Trump, again, it's not really going to help. And even Donald Trump has turned on him a little bit. I mean, he says that he's got no bad feelings towards Elon Musk, but he's also said, I was really surprised that that happened. He went after a bill that's phenomenal. Of course, the big bill that we've heard so much about recently in US politics. I think he just feels really badly that he said that, actually. But yeah, I think there's absolutely grounds to sue here, because think about what Musk has done. You know, the reputation of Tesla has gone down, therefore the resale value of these vehicles has also gone down. These people may well suffer attacks. I mean, we've heard about people in the US going over and attacking Cybertrucks. So there is absolutely grounds here for, remuneration, so grounds for suing. And if you hear any more about this, guys, of course, I will bring it here on the channel as always. And yeah, have a fantastic time wherever you are in the world today.